Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Good morning, everybody.
Is it Wednesday?
It's Wednesday.
So
it's
it's
such a
time to do
beautiful
another show?
day. Yeah, it is.
Okay, gotcha.
It's White Hat Wednesday.
Welcome, everyone.
Such a pretty day today. It's
Yeah,
it's
gorgeous.
going to be a beautiful day. So
In at least north of Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Where we are. It's fantastic
Yeah.
today. Hope it is where you are.
yeah, we really enjoyed coffee on the patio and watching the
Great
birds
start
and the
to the day.
sunrise and all that kind of stuff. It was
Mm-hmm.
pretty lovely. Hey, sometimes we forget to say, hey, shout out, let us know where you're listening from.
Please.
And if you're new to listenership too, that's kind of always
And
something
also
fun.
maybe if you haven't liked and subscribed to our YouTube channel, maybe explain yourself in the comments. There. Just tell us why you wouldn't make time to do that.
Right?
Right.
So yeah, if you are looking to like and subscribe, it's Jim Rhoads /Octane Group
On YouTube.
on YouTube.
That's the best way to find us
That
because
is the
all the
best way to
stuff
find
lands
us.
there. So all the fresh
Yeah.
stuff is going to end up there. So,
Mhm.
you don't have to be a member of a certain
Mhm.
Facebook group or whatever to find the stuff. So we recommend
Mhm.
subscribing over there and you'll get all the new notifications. Turn on your notifications so you get the new stuff, especially those Tote the Note podcasts. We got some more coming up.
Exactly. Today is White Hat Wednesday, and just to kind of let you all know that we've been working really, really hard on creating, putting together a website so that anyone who's like wondering what in the heck is White Hat Way and what is it that's our core, our nucleus. I can't even say that this morning. Apparently I haven't had enough coffee, but so we should be launching that within the next week or two.
Yeah,
so that it's a little bit better
put a little
explanation.
mention about that?
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be important for folks to understand what White Hat Way is, what it's all about, and decide if it really fits for their own business strategy, like
Mhm.
kind of how they
Mhm.
want to be known in their community. Because I think the part that has been eating at me for some time now is, as a consultant advisor, I find myself working with dealers to try to break free from whatever pattern they've been in. Okay.
Mhm.
So bear with me. This has a White
Okay.
Hat tie-in. So one of the things that I find in working with dealers, and today's topic is kind of loosely related to this, but I think it's more about this, the month of May and collections and how do we have an impact on this industry? How do you solve the stuff? Well, here's how you don't solve it. Inaction. Staying where you are,
Mhm.
doing the same thing we've always done. And I think we see in the White Hat Way an opportunity to let's change the narrative. Let's look at the thing differently. Let's start taking steps to solve the problem.
Mhm.
So our conversation today around collections is really just one vein
Mhm.
of many topics that will be we can just accept that certain things are the way they are and just live with it and deal with it. But there's a high price we pay for that. So I'm
Mhm.
just saying one of the things that I identified that one of my greatest fears in business is suffering the high cost of inaction.
Yep.
Okay.
I ran across a little sticky note that you
Yeah.
actually wrote that down.
So
and
that
left it
applies to
somewhere.
me as a business person.
prominently.
It applies to
Mhm.
our dealer clients. It applies to our vendors in the
Mhm.
industry. If we do nothing different, why would we expect a different outcome, a different result? So it's like, I think what you're seeing in Jim and Michelle is that we're stepping forward with this White Hat Way. We're inviting people to join us.
Yeah.
And so I think, these White Hat Wednesday conversations are just examples. They're little slivers of how it matters to our
Mhm.
industry. And
Yeah.
when we certainly understand not everybody's going to subscribe to what we're suggesting over
Mhm.
here in terms of the approach, but when people will make time to understand how White Hat approach, that's the label we put on it.
It's the
what,
White
what
Hat
Michelle
approach,
called
yeah.
the nucleus of what we're about.
Mhm.
When you make time to understand that, then you can see how this lets you step forward in a way that is virtually no risk. You don't suffer any by taking a step in these directions that we're talking about.
Mhm.
And so it's a way to break out of the rut and to
Yeah.
have a different experience for both the dealer and consumer. So we're just, I'm I'm feeling energized, committed
Yes.
to powering through
Yeah.
on this whole white hat thing. And so we're in the coming weeks, we're going to be inviting lots of folks to join us
Yeah.
in this kind of advancing the white hat idea. And so we'll keep working on
So
it.
we have the URL whitehatway.com, and the website is right now it's just a holding page. It says coming soon, but we are actively working on that and all the explanations so that someone can go there. If someone asks you, what is White Hat Way? Or if you're new to listening, what is White Hat Way, that you'll be able to really get a good description and understanding about how all the pieces fit together. Right now, one of the better places to go to understand White Hat Way, because it's going to be on every one of our websites, is at Buy Here, Pay Here Nation television. There's a really beautiful description. There's actually a picture of Jim's grandfather, Pablo.
And the tie-in to
yeah.
that. But
So before we move on, George Spat said something very funny, and I already posted it on there. He says, "Enjoy the patio. Winter in Salt Lake City starts in a couple of months."
That's right.
Thank you, George.
That's right. We're soaking it up over here, George. We know it's a short summer.
And good morning from sunny Scottsdale too.
Good morning,
Georgia
y'all.
Montemurro.
We appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah.
So I think that's just kind of what I wanted to get said. So I think people will know as we kind of continue with these White Hat Wednesdays, which we're up 50 plus episodes now of White Hat Wednesday, and that's going to continue because we got to continue to promote this idea and help folks understand the value that they can enjoy by starting to explore these things and start to implement some of them in their business. So today will be one example. We're going to talk about why customers lie. You got something else there?
Well, I just wanted to say good morning, Tommy.
Hey, Tommy Brandis. Tommy's going to be on the show with us at the last White Hat Wednesday of
I think it's the 30th.
And by the way, for those tuning in today, just know that, and we'll mention again on the 31st, but Tommy is the one who came up with the phrase White Hat Wednesday. He knew we were working on White Hat Way, and so he appeared with us on the very first Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, we actually unveiled White Hat Way when we started talking about it before we launched the Buy Here, Pay Here Institute. And so, because there are specific things in the Institute that have a white hat symbol, and so it's like these are more the squiggly lines, the intangibles. These are like, how do you want to be known by your community? That that kind of question. And so we'd already done that. And then when we were talking to Tommy and we started on starting this podcast, he's like, you should do a White Hat Wednesday. So thank you, Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy was going to appear with us on probably was a Wednesday, June 1st, and he said, "Why don't we call it White Hat Wednesday?"
Yeah,
and there it is. So thanks, Tommy.
Thank you, Tommy. Before we actually get into the topic too, Maggie Pagesic is going to be joining us on Friday to talk about collections and your phone, how you handle people on the phone. So, make sure you tune in then, because that'll be good. It's always fun to have Maggie.
And one more quick mention, August 1st. We'll talk more about this in the coming weeks, but August 1st, we've targeted the date. Let's save that date on your calendar. It should be a Tuesday. We're moving ahead with our next all-day live stream, which is more likely to be 4 sessions this time
so
around.
It'll be a little shorter, but still some really important pieces.
It's another example where we're not just going to sit here and deal with the status quo and let everything stay the same. We're going to jump out there and we're going to learn some stuff. We're going to ask people to contribute.
Deal structure.
So we'll talk about that more as we move ahead here. But
we're right now currently working on the lineup of people that will be there, and those of you who have listened or attended some of the other things that we've done, whether it be with Tommy Brandis, the first town hall, and then this last all day live event that we did on succession planning and just having just a solid business plan, that we get some people that are well respected in the community or in the Buy Here, Pay Here community to come, and so we should have some people that already.
This is going to be a little different. One of the things, people that you will see there as vendors will be the ones who will bring raw data to the conversation.
That is one thing that we've been telling people that we're talking to is that
That's a have to.
that we don't want to hear in generalities. We don't want to hear about average it. Well, we do want to hear about the average, but we want the raw data behind it.
We're not going to talk about numbers anecdotally on
Yes.
that day. We're
Good morning,
going
Karen.
to drill into the real numbers. Hi, Karen Barnett, out east.
Yeah. Okay. So to the topic. Why do customers lie or hide? I mean,
I don't know. I was hoping you'd know this morning. Do you have any information?
Well, we
about
kind of
that?
talked about it this morning. We've talked about it a couple of times, but we had a really great conversation. We usually do discuss the day's topic during our morning coffee time, which is at least an hour that we spend just, enjoying the morning, and then we allow Jim to wake up and finish at least a cup of coffee, so that he can because
coherent.
Sometimes if I get up earlier than he does and I hit him the minute he is up, I'm like, what do you think it did? And he goes,
coffee,
baby.
Gotta have
just,
coffee.
Yeah.
I can't understand what
Give
you're
me
saying.
what? No comprehend.
Yeah.
So we had a really great discussion this morning, and we're talking about a lot of different pieces about why we feel the buy here, pay here customer, but why there are buy here, pay here customers that lie or hide, because not every one of them does. Right. And so, we wanted to, as we get started, can we start with the troublemaker? So just kind of Jim does a lot of polls. And they're really helpful, and we don't always, use this. Sometimes it's just so that people in the industry can kind of take a look at what are others doing, what is the perception, what is, and then at times we'll pull these into podcasts or some of our just education that we do. And so this is one that dealer poll, and this was a percentage of troublemakers or deadbeats. So these are people that, are a thorn or can feel like a thorn in the side of dealers and collectors. And, they're the ones that are causing a huge amount of friction and strife.
So there's a separate thing that I wish I could have located, but so let's go slowly on this because I think it's important. It's an important backdrop for the conversation.
Did you hear when Hugo's like, when you said, let's start with troublemaker, I thought Tommy was going to be on the show.
Oh yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Good one, Hugo.
Okay. Yes. Good one. So troublemaker.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the exact phrasing of the question, and I'll share in the comments of the broadcast afterwards, the link to the actual polls. One of them was from 2022 and the other from 2021. So, locating those, but you've got the data right here. I think the important thing is the question is, what percentage of your customers would you describe as troublemakers or quote unquote deadbeats who are just out to take advantage of anyone and everyone? They're just out to take advantage. And if you can see the numbers there, like 10% or less, like
62% say it's 10% or less. And then you add another 23% that say it's 2% or less.
Right.
So, which to me is like a quarter of the people that answered the poll. Do you remember how many people answered in total?
It was like 53 or
53.
something. Yeah.
So a quarter of the people said less than 2% are troublemakers.
Yeah.
And then you add another 62% to that, and it's 10% or less. So what we're looking at is on average, 60, 70, 80, 85%.
Something like that.
About 85% of the people that are when we talk to dealers, 85% of the dealers out there say 10% or less of their people are troublemakers.
Right. Or said another way, 85% of the customers are not troublemakers, right? Or
80,
whatever the percentage is, like
90% of your customers plus are not troublemakers.
Yeah. So I think this is an important backdrop because what it does is it says, okay, so the customers who are lying to us, are they doing it because they have an intent to take advantage of us? Like that's just a real question that I think we don't have the answers here today, but these polls suggest that dealers and their perception is that the customer the vast majority of the customers are not troublemakers or these quote unquote deadbeats. I hate the phrase, but it's like, if you think about what is that definition, then dealers in the poll said, that's not our typical customer, right? That is definitely the exception. And I got to mention, I remember looking at the thing, and Luke Godwin, our friend, fellow podcaster, he wrote in that 2%. And that response was like 12 of the 53 or something said 2%. Like, it's a small number, single digit number.
And a bunch of them voted in for that.
Some of that's going to be underwriting, of course, but the most of it is just, the reality is there's a real small sliver of our population that is really out to take advantage, and a thief and a crook and whatever other label you want. Like, they're just out to take advantage. And so, regardless
that their intent in entering into a business arrangement with you is to take advantage of you.
And that's how I phrased the question.
Yeah.
Is basically, is that, are they looking to take advantage of anyone and everyone? Well, most people aren't. Most people that show up that's a buy here, pay here dealership, they're just looking for wheels. They're trying to get a way to work tomorrow, and they're going through their life in the same way.
And they have good intentions.
Yeah, that's not their intention to take advantage of anybody. Now, we know that as this thing kind of unfolds, you can go ahead and show the others.
Okay.
The other question was, what letter grade would you give your entire portfolio in terms of honesty? So again, this is just, we're asking that. So I gave A+, A-, B, C, right on down to F.
So A+ was nearly all are truthful.
Okay.
B was most are truthful most of the time. A C was probably representative of the larger population.
Yeah.
I don't even see D on here, but I see F. It's no one did D. I don't remember what it was, but F was, we're still waiting for our first honest customer.
That was my phrasing on the answer, but it's like, it's obviously being a smart, but there were very few people that said that customers are all liars.
So those of you who are just listening, the A, nearly all are truthful, nearly all the time. That was 6%. So 6% of the people that answered the poll. B, which is most are truthful most of the time, was 34%. So when you add those two together, we're talking about 40% of the people that added their voice to this. 40% are at least truthful most of the time. Okay. And then C was 54%. 54% was probably represented of the larger population.
Yeah. So that means they're just like you and me.
Like,
they're no different.
Yeah.
The sliver of customers who are, dishonest is the same as it would be in a percentage of people at any grocery store. It's like, it's representative of the population. So that was the largest answer.
So D didn't have any. And then F was 6%. Again, 6% still waiting for someone to be honest.
Right.
Okay.
And so I think, what this tells us is that the typical consumer is not out to take advantage of us. And so sometimes you'll put these polls out there and you'll see people, and sometimes they're, of course, just kidding, but sometimes there's this predominant view in buy here, pay here that, the customers are lying when their lips are moving, right? We've heard that.
We've heard that. But I'm kind of thinking that when we hear that, that's from more of this segment that say waiting for someone to be truthful. So that's like 6% of the people that polled believe that.
We don't have to speculate. Like, we can let our audience decide what they interpret when they hear someone say the customers are lying when their lips are moving. The polls just suggest that most dealers don't really feel that way. And so the question is, if we are having that position and we think all the customers are liars, then we have to ask ourselves, where's that come from? Why would we have that perception? Because our question today is, why do customers lie and hide from us? So we want to start to break that down. And we may run a little past 30 minutes because we started a little bit late on the meat of the conversation. But basically, when we think about why customers lie, I made some notes based on my own direct experience. And that's obviously my own years of managing dealerships and owning a dealership and now working with dealers all across the country. I think often they're lying to us because they're scared. So let's back up. What do they know when they come into a relationship with us? If you're a dealer, Michelle, and I buy a car from you and I finance with you, what would I expect would be the approach in the collections department? And where would I form that opinion? You're probably going to form that opinion based on
past experience
with other dealers. If you've had buy here, pay your financing somewhere else or some other creditor, you're going to anticipate, because what else would you be basing on it? You're going to anticipate that there's going to be a certain approach from the collection department based on what I know from my past.
And I kind of think when we were talking about it this morning, that I think it's not just buy here, pay here, but it's in general that the experience that a lot of our customers have is that, they're scared, they're desperate, they're going to say what they need to say to be able to keep in the car, because their experience through the relative immediate past or through their whole life has been, when I am truthful, that I get in trouble.
Right.
Or that they've been trained that if I lie, I will keep out of trouble.
Yeah.
And so there's, lying is, and I'm not a psychologist. I play one on the morning show.
Right.
I don't think that lying is something that is intrinsically written in our DNA. I don't believe it. I think that children, one of the reasons why they have the thing that say children say the darndest things is because children don't understand lying. They say what they think, what they see, what they feel. They just say it. And then they start to get into trouble for saying what they think, what they see, what they feel. And so I think that I'm not trying to go back to this goes back to their childhood, but I think that that's where children learn that, hey, I can tell a fib and not, or to protect myself or whatever, is because I got in trouble for thinking or saying what I thought, feel, or saw directly.
Yeah. And I'm not a psychologist either. I just think we know that a lot of what we know from child psychology also applies to basic human psychology, which is the case you're basically making. And I think, so we look at that, and without being psychologists, we can look at the thing and say, why would customers choose to lie to us? Well, because they have something to gain from it. Okay.
Or
and
they have something to hide.
Yeah. And they have, and why would they hide that? Because they think if they reveal it, there's going to be some punitive action. So I think really where this, you can go through all the reasons that we think that, customers feel like they have to lie to us. One, we know that our customers have become quite good at telling fibs, and why would they do that? Because it buys them time. In the past, with other creditors, they have been able to tell a story and get an understanding to pay double on their next pay period or however that looks. And so they tell fibs. And our system has to be set up in a way that it sort of just strips that away. It just sort of, but to do that, we have to be in a place with the customer. We have to have a relationship where they can trust that they can be honest with us and not pay some severe price.
So then, and I want to add just a little caveat that, there are people that it is called part of their culture. Yeah. They're raised in a culture where you just lie, and that there are people like that. And so again, they have to be taught that, which also says that they can be untaught that. And you're not going to flip a switch and it's like all of a sudden they're going to be honest with everybody that they work with, but you can teach them to be honest with you.
Sure.
And you can make them feel like they can be honest with you without having a punitive experience.
Yeah. And so to me, that is, we have to be prepared to reward honesty, at least not penalize it. We have to meet the customer halfway on whatever's going on. I saw Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy's, and he's car, create a relationship. We're in the car business, the create a relationship business. And that's Tommy's absolute credit. That car is create a relationship. And I love that Tommy has always said, customers are survivors. When we ask them to describe,
Mhm.
it's like they do what they have to do to be able to, they're good at doing what they have to do to be able to survive.
And part of what they feel like they have to do
Mhm.
is lie because they don't have the money
Mhm.
today.
Yeah.
And so they need to come up with a story or a
Mhm.
lie so that they won't get their car repossessed because they're just doing what they feel like they have to do to navigate
Yeah.
today, you know?
And
And so,
so, we talk about that it's a relationship, right?
Mhm.
That it's create a relationship, that someone that doesn't necessarily know you or trust you is going to feel more comfortable with
Mhm.
lying to you.
Right.
And so right there is that's the meat on the bone,
Right.
is you're like reversing that. Because when I say someone who doesn't know you and doesn't trust you is going to feel more comfortable with lying to you
Yeah.
than if you become known and trusted. That's an action part on the dealer's part, is to become known and trusted. That is not something that you just, that requires action on the dealer's part to be known by their customer and to be trusted by their customer.
So in our comments on the thing, we talked about the KLT factor. You can look it up
Yes.
online. The KLT is
Mhm.
known, liked, and trusted, and that's typically used more in a marketing context of helping your customer get to know you because
Mhm.
they tend to do business with people they trust. But we know that it applies over here
Mhm.
on this side of our business too. So, to follow up on Tommy's thing about create a relationship, well, how do you do that? Like how do
Mhm.
any relationship, take it outside of buy here, pay here for a minute. How do you create a bond, like your best friend forever? What, how did that bond get formed? What happened? And so
Mhm.
there's, first of all, you have to get to know them, right? Know them on some level.
Which is hard to do if the only communication you have with them is at closing or when it's time to get into trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. We're
It's
past due and now we're calling and we got a kind of a
exactly.
nasty tone.
Exactly.
And so it's like, I think that whole relationship piece of, if we apply this to the collection side, and by the
Mhm.
way, when I say known, liked, and trusted, I don't mean that they get to know XYZ finance company. Finance companies don't care. Company is a company. They have to get to know you, which might mean your collection team. It might mean you as the dealer principal. It might mean the collection supervisor. They have to get to know you as people so that, and
Mhm.
one of the things that I've thought about, like how did I try to set that stage? You've heard me say that it was
Mhm.
my practice in closings that we would say to a customer, and we did some little short videos, like I would try to be saying to the customer again and again, look, there's not going to be anything that comes up during the
Mhm.
time that you have this car financed with us that we can't sit in the room together and talk about it and figure it out.
Mhm.
Obviously, that without even saying it, that
Mhm.
tells the customer, you can come clean with me.
Yeah.
And I think there's one more quick tie-in on that.
Mhm.
When in the collections or in the underwriting process, rather, in
Mhm.
underwriting, when we look at a customer's credit story and we see that there are problems,
Mhm.
okay, and we're able to discuss that with a customer very freely and say, we're prepared to try to move ahead with you with financing, with your $1,000 down payment. We see this, this, and this. Let's talk about that, explain that. The idea here is that if you're my customer
Mhm.
and I have that conversation with you and I ask you to come clean about the ugly parts of your credit history,
Mhm.
because I need to know it. I need to understand you and kind of what put you in this place credit wise and whatever. I want to understand
Mhm.
it. And as we go through that and you are able to share with me the ugliest parts of your credit story and we still move ahead, we still move into a relationship, then what have we
Mhm.
created? We have created a scenario where
Uh,
you feel like
mhm.
there's not really much of anything you can't talk to me about.
And well, and it's and that is like, that does create a level of trust. But I think that we also need to honor that the days are gone where we see our customers at least once a month.
Yeah.
The days are gone. So it was easier in the days before ACH. It was easier before some of the different shifts and how culturally, for you to keep a relationship, an ongoing relationship with your customer. And so, because they're going to come in and you're going to hear the stories and you're going to small talk like you do at the closing, and you're going to know the things that are happening, and you're going to have them come in and say, "Hey, Marjorie, it's great to see you. How'd your mom do in her surgery?"
Mhm.
The days are gone for that to be the rule. It's the exception now.
Well, but there are ways, and so
But there
it
are
may
ways, yeah.
it may not be as many ways for us to get customers to come so that we can get to know them. Like we can do barbecues and invite them, and we can try to get to know them on a more
So how do
personal
you
level.
do
In the
it?
meantime, well, among the things we can do is make sure until we get a chance to sit with them and get to know them, let's make sure we're getting out there and allowing them to get to know us.
Mhm.
So that can mean collections, everybody on the team, that they're getting to know us. So, gosh, TikTok is a thing, and 30 seconds at a time, I can get out on TikTok and Facebook and I can say things. And in my Facebook reviews, I can respond in a way that people can see, hey, you can trust me.
Mhm.
My intention is such that I want you to be successful. And if I keep saying it and I keep looking them in the eye and I say it again and again, eventually it's this known, liked, and trusted. It's easy for
Mhm.
them to get to know you. You can be all over social media and they'll get to know you. But
Mhm.
they may or may not like you. Depends on what you're saying on social media. But to step into a place where they trust
Trust
you,
you?
how does that happen? So this is where we feel like when you think about White Hat Way, yeah, we can spend our days on the podcast talking about the cost of car and the markup on your car and where to set your interest rate and all those kind of things. But if we don't start talking about this stuff about trust and
Mhm.
how dealers can earn that bond with a customer, then I don't see our charge-off rates changing. I just don't see our charge-off rates improving.
Mhm.
If we don't learn how to connect with our consumer
Mhm.
at
There's
a
a and
really
yeah.
interpersonal level where
Yeah.
they can begin to feel comfortable communicating with us, because right now they probably face some retribution, so it's just, again, we can break this down, but it's like, what happens when a customer is truthful with us? What happens when a customer lies to us? What's the outcome? And how can we facilitate the kind of relationship that would allow the customer to feel like they can be honest
Like,
with
I know
us?
you and I can be honest with you.
And I know that
Yeah.
when I know, Mr. Dealer, that I believe you when you say that you want this account to work out well.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
So if I believe that, then I'm more comfortable stepping in, approaching you, talking to you, working out whatever the thing is. And so this is all just dialogue. Like, this is part of the buy here, pay here that Michelle and I call squiggly lines. Like, it's
Mhm.
not so cut and dried. It's not so straight lines like price of car and all these kind of things. That's straight line stuff.
Mhm.
When you step over here into this squiggly line stuff that is white hat education, it's like we're asking dealers to get more comfortable with this idea. And so this is part of where marketing too. And by the way, that whole scenario that I just mapped out about when I say to a customer, maybe it's in a newsletter, in a video, where I'm saying to my customers, I'm looking them in the eye, I'm looking in the camera, I'm looking in the eye and say, you're going to hear me say nothing different than I want our customer to be successful. I want them to be able to reach the end of their contract, finance with me again. I want them to feel comfortable, sending friends and family. I'm going to say that over and over and over again. People aren't
Mhm.
going to hear anything different from me. And
And
now
yeah.
people, imagine what that looks like on the marketing side. We're over here
Yeah.
selling used cars with high miles, and we're just trying to sell this polished used car. Look at this low mile car. Like, we're trying to sell cars. Like, we're missing the opportunity to sell something that's
Mhm.
far more valuable. We got to get to the place where
Yeah.
customers can believe that we
We want
mean
their
what we say.
success.
We mean what we say.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think too that in that expressing that to our customers, that we are here to help you be successful. We really want your success, and we know that there will be hiccups.
Yeah.
We know that there are going to be speed bumps, things along the way, and we just want you to know you can come and talk to us about it, and that we can come up with solutions. And when we talk about, you don't have them come in all the time. So how do you maintain that? I think first off, it's like, I love what, Tommy is such a great example of building a relationship on the front end.
Mhm.
And Tommy's also a really great example of, he goes to social media, not about a car, but about a story. And there's a car in it, but there's a customer, there's a person, there's a story, and then there's a happy ending and a solution. And it's usually there's a problem that he talks about. And this is what success looks like. And da, 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 da. So Tommy is on the front end, not only building a relationship with the customer, but he's also building a relationship with the customers that he has right now that are following what it is that's happening. He's also building a relationship with people that are just part of the ecosystem that post shows up to. And so he's building trust from the beginning, where he's and I loved one of the things that he just recently posted, and he posted the review from one of the people. And the review was, Tommy took the time. Tommy, they really do care. Those kind of reviews do an awful lot to help people that are not your customers currently, or that are your customers currently, feel a level of trust, because it's like, yeah, they really do. They listen to the things. Another way of doing this is, how are you reaching out to them on a monthly or a quarterly basis, and like keeping in contact, keeping that thread, that connection of communication with them, even if they aren't having any problems. Because, we know that you can have a customer that goes a year into their contract, not a peep out of them, and then all of a sudden they drop off the face of the planet because something has happened. And so how does that customer know that they can come to you and they can talk to you? Because it's been a year. And so it's like, it's just a bill I pay. It's not a person or people that really care about me. So what we really encourage is that you find ways to keep that thread of communication and connection open. That can be through a newsletter. That can be through a text message that goes out every once in a while. That can be, any number of things that you can come up with that are creative, that it's like, you're the customer that's that's been great. It can be like, you make your payment on time. We talked about this before. You make your payment on time for, 3 months running, and you get entered into this gift card thing for $200 gas or food. And then you send out the newsletter. And so it's like, they're getting the thing and they know, I just got entered into a thing. You send out a message, congratulations, you're in the drawing. We'll be drawing it this Friday. And so they're like, ooh, what was this? And then they're paying attention to, maybe I could win something. That is a thread of connection, of communication.
Yeah.
That you can have with your customer.
And that's what I think about the white hat thing, is like, it's a way for us to, one of the things we're going to be working on with White Hat Way is how to help dealers connect to their consumers better, and vice versa. We've got to improve that level of communication between the buyer and seller. And so this is part of how we feel like we do it. And we promised some tips today. I would just say, find ways to reward honesty. Like get that incorporated into your training. When customers are being truthful, even though it's a message you don't want to hear, I don't have the payment because I lost money at the casino last night, or whatever. Maybe it just looks like your responsibility, but if the customer's being honest with you, then let's find ways to reward that and have a process for how to. Now, we want collectors at the front line to require documentation, and maybe they wouldn't grant this exception, but we need to have a way to step in and reward honesty. And
sometimes a reward is just thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming and talking to us. Just letting us know what's going on. We can figure this out. Thank you.
Yeah, we can absolutely figure it out.
Yeah.
We couldn't figure it out if we didn't know what was going on. So we don't have to say that, but I'm just saying the reality is we'd have a hard time. But the other thing I would just ask our listeners to think about, especially if you're a dealer, maybe it helps to think of it this way. If Jim and Michelle started a car dealership tomorrow, buy here, pay your dealership in Middle America, our commercials wouldn't feature cars. Our commercials, now I might be standing in front of a car that you can't tell what kind of car it is. I might be standing in front of our sign that says we finance, but my commercials are going to be helping. I'm going to be talking to customers in a way and to my entire community. I'm going to be talking to them about who we are, what we believe, how we do business, and why. Without saying it, people will draw the conclusion, oh, I see why I would want to do business with you instead of somebody else like you. And so it's how do I become in my community known, liked, and trusted? So now we're back to kind of the marketing side of commercials, but doesn't that also translate to anybody who follows that marketing funnel and comes to me and chooses to do business with me? They have some understanding about who they're doing business with, which is going to carry into the collection side of that relationship.
Absolutely.
So it's just a different approach, and it's something that we know that resonates with a lot of people, and you can still do all the business the other ways you do it. It's just that when we really genuinely care, then we should get better about leading with that. in marketing and in our conversation with
Mhm.
customers in the collections department.
And that's why, when we talk to people about what are you marketing, and that we really encourage dealers to not market cars, but to market like their why, who they are, what the story is, what the program is. And so that people can see themselves, not necessarily, I mean, you've got cars, and we're hoping that you've got cars that will do the things that you're hoping that they will do for the customer, but that you're like, this is who we are. This is why you want to do business with us.
Mhm.
And not because we've got the nicest, shiniest cars on the lot, but because we're going to work with you. We know
Yeah.
that life has hiccups.
Yeah,
So
I think the main thing is just you're going to let the customers get to know you. If you truly care,
Mhm.
then let them get to know you. They got to know you, like you, and trust you.
Mhm.
And now you're starting to build a bond.
Well,
with customers
and
for life.
that's, as we mentioned the whitehatway.com website, and that is one of the foundational pieces of White Hat Way, is to help dealers become known, liked, and trusted in their communities.
Mhm.
And so, just shameless plug. If there is something that you need some help with, give us a call, 903-816-0216. If you would like some help, some actionable items, an accountability partner for moving into becoming known, liked, and trusted in your communities. If you see that there's a disconnect, give us a call.
Right.
We may be able to help, and if we can't, we can put you in touch with someone that can.
Hopefully, if they
Hopefully.
call, they know, like, and trust
Yeah.
us enough to be honest and say, I don't know how to fix this problem.
Yes, yes. And it's like, okay, then
Right.
let us help you. So
Yeah.
again, text or call 903-816-0216.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining us for White Hat Wednesday.
Yeah.
And just watch, we've got a lot of really cool things that are very clear and concise things about this is the White Hat Way. Join us.
Join us back here Friday with
Mhm.
Maggie Pogesic. We're going to drill into collection phone calls and talk about how to handle those. So see you Friday.
All right, guys, have a great day, and thanks for joining.